The grand ballroom of the Ocean Crest Hotel pulsed with soft golden light, each crystal chandelier dripping flecks of brilliance like captured starlight. Underfoot, the marble floor was cool and smooth, its pale veins gleaming beneath the laughter of guests in silk and satin. Mia Caldwell's white gloves whispered against the stone as she maneuvered a service cart piled high with freshly pressed linens. The air was thick with sea salt drifting in from the open terrace, mingled with the heady scent of white roses and the sharp tang of lemon-scented cleaning solution, an aroma she'd come to associate with secrets framed in silence. A trio of violinists serenaded the gathering, their bowstrokes rising and falling like foamy waves on the nearby shoreline. Each note vibrated through Mia's chest, reminding her of the tremor she'd felt at 14, when she'd counted coins in her battered tin can under the humming laundromat lights. She paused at the staff-only corridor door, fingertips brushing the polished wood panel as her heartbeat thundered louder than the hotel's grand clock tower chimes. The gentle draft from the grill cooled her flushed cheek, bringing back the memory of salty winds on her childhood ferry rides. Inside, muffled beneath velvet drapes, the groom's voice sliced through the melody. 50,000 by midnight, or she's never invited back. His words landed like iron anvils on Mia's ribs. A brittle laugh followed, her daughter's sharp voice cutting through glass. Or she can watch us from her retirement home window. That laughter ricocheted off satin walls, each echo a reminder of every whispered slight she'd endured. Mia's gloved hand clenched the cart's handle until the fabric creased, but her resolve hardened like concrete setting at dawn. Flashbacks flickered across her mind, the tin clink of quarters dropping into coin slot machines, the rough scratch of pencil on ledger as she tallied tips before dawn, the comforting weight of her grandmother's leather-bound stock certificates, proof of a hidden inheritance no one suspected she bore. She recalled the hush of late-night calls with Omar Delgado, her lawyer, his measured tones mapping out subpoenas and freeze orders like pieces on a chessboard. A distant murmur of conversation drifted through the corridor. Champagne flutes clinking, silk skirts swaying. Mia inhaled deeply, tasting the faint metallic edge of anticipation on her tongue. She pressed her palm to the door's cool frame and let her voice drop to a breathy whisper. They forgot one thing. In that single utterance lay every sacrifice, every hidden meeting, every dollar saved, soon to become the blade that shatters the ballroom's gilded illusion. Mia Caldwell learned the rhythmic chime of coin drop machines before she learned to walk. Long before she donned a starched uniform and gloved hands, she spent dawn light perched on a wooden stool in her parents' laundromat. The faded sign, Caldwell and Daughter Laundromat, creaked overhead as dryers thumped in endless cycles. Piles of wet towels sloshed beside her. The air hung heavy with the tang of lemon-scented soap and the musty warmth of cotton. She counted, quarters by ear, each metallic clink promising one more day's rent paid, one more meal on the table. Her mother's soft hum and her father's barked instructions. Separate the darks, Mia, became the soundtrack of her childhood. There was no playroom, only folding tables and the steady hiss of steam irons. At night, the flickering fluorescent tubes cast long shadows on the cracked linoleum. Mia learned that hard work paid dividends. Every scrimped tip, every extra hour spent cleaning guest rooms at the local motel added pennies to a battered tin can hidden beneath her bedroom floorboard. That tin can held her dream, a future for her daughter Lily, free from worry. By age 16, she balanced high school textbooks with triple shifts, dawn laundry, midday diner service, and late-night hotel housekeeping. The sizzle of battered fish and the clatter of plates at Frida's diner became as familiar as her own heartbeat. She mastered the art of anticipation. A guest's soft cough meant they wanted coffee. The tilt of a napkin foretold an empty plate. Yet no accolade came. Her uniform hid her smile. When classmates teased her thrift store dresses, she simply tucked her hair behind her ear and kept tallying tomorrow's expenses. After graduation, with no scholarship to claim, Mia did what she knew best. She worked. An unmarked envelope changed everything. Slipped under her apartment door on a gray Tuesday, it bore embossed seals. Age stock certificates tied to Beaumont Biotech, the corporate parent of the Grand Ocean Crest Hotel. Her pulse rattled like a freight train as she examined the papers. Her grandmother's secret inheritance had quietly acquired nearly half the hotel's parent company. The realization crashed into her world. While she scrubbed floors and folded linens, she had unknowingly financed the luxury she served. Armed with newfound leverage, Mia enlisted two trusted allies. Omar Delgado, her college friend turned attorney, brought meticulous legal mindsets to her cramped kitchen table. Under the glare of a single desk lamp, they pored over wills, traced shell company filings, and drafted asset freeze motions. Beside them, Nadia Kim, a forensic accountant with midnight oil dedication, mapped money flows on spreadsheets that stretched across her apartment wall. Each chart, each subpoena, was another brushstroke in the portrait of retribution they were painting. Meanwhile, the corridors of the Ocean Crest Hotel shimmered with oblivious opulence. Ethan Beaumont, heir to the family legacy, first crossed Mia's path on a silent midnight shift. His expensive shoes whispered over the marble as he sought solace from a broken engagement. He found it in the hush of vacated banquet halls, where Mia offered him coffee and a listening ear. Without knowing it, he confided in the very architect of his family's empire, believing her a humble cleaner. Above them, 5 executives reveled in their assumed glory. Ross Whitman, marketing director, who spun glossy campaigns boasting unmatched occupancy, yet had fudged numbers to pacify shareholders. Simone Alvarez, CFO, whose discreet offshore accounts disguised generous consulting fees siphoned from the hotel's charity fund. Dion Price, CTO, who touted proprietary room service apps while leaking code to private ventures. Fiona Chen, head of HR, who swept harassment complaints under corporate rugs and lauded team cohesion at gala retreats. Marcus Lyle, legal counsel, who shredded damning memos to shield the family foundation from scandal. They toasted one another at candlelit dinners, unaware that every boast, every forced smile, was logged in Mia's encrypted vault. Hidden microphones captured whispered cruelties, Ross ridiculing riffraff interns, Simone scoffing at charity case cleaners, Dayon mocking Mia's thrift store wardrobe. Nadia's cameras caught Fiona brushing aside staff grievances, and legal forensics reassembled Price's shredded briefs. These moments of arrogance became Mia's arsenal, yet she remained unseen. Each day she glided through the hotel's public spaces like a ghost, polishing silver under crystal chandeliers, tucking away linen so pristine it gleamed under candlelight. Guests praised the atmosphere, never glimpsing the determination coiled within her quiet smile. To them, she was indispensable yet invisible, until the moment she chose to step into the light and claim the power that had, all along, been hers. Morning light filtered through the tall, palm-fringed windows of the Ocean Crest Hotel, scattering golden patterns across the marble corridor. Mia Caldwell stepped off the discreet service elevator at exactly 7 a.m., her teal dress chosen, to blend in seamlessly with vendor staff. The click of her low-heeled shoes echoed softly as she wheeled her cleaning cart toward the grand ballroom's rear entrance. The air smelled of fresh paint, lilies, and the faint tang of industrial cleaner, a fragrance Mia had come to associate with preparation and quiet resolve. She paused at the threshold, hand resting on the cool brass handle, as the muffled hum of conversation drifted through the slightly ajar door. Beyond lay the head table, set with gleaming crystal flutes and ivory linens, where early guests were already gathering for the Beaumont wedding rehearsal. She allowed herself a fleeting glimpse of the opulence: towering floral arrangements, polished silver platters, and a string quartet tuning their instruments. Then she heard it. Vanessa Beaumont's voice, sharp as broken glass. $50,000 by tonight's reception, or she's never invited back. The ultimatum landed in Mia's chest like a hammer blow. The word she hung in the air, crystalline and cruel. A brittle laugh followed. Ethan's sister, her tone mocking. "And don't think we'll keep it quiet. The press will have a field day." The words ricocheted off satin-draped walls, each echo driving home the depth of their contempt. Mia's fingers tightened around the cart's handle until the white glove creased. Her pulse thundered in her ears, recalling the late nights at her parents' laundromat, counting quarters by the flicker of a single bulb. The same rapid heartbeat that had guided her through triple shifts now fueled a cool, deadly determination. She tasted the faint metallic tang of adrenaline at the back of her throat. A memory flashed. The unmarked envelope that had arrived on her doormat weeks earlier, its contents revealing stock certificates tied to Beaumont Biotech, proof that Mia owned half the family's holdings. She had smiled then, a secret warmth flooding her chest. Now that warmth crystallized into resolve. Footsteps approached behind her. The door clicked shut, sealing the private corridor. Mia inhaled the sterile air, grounding herself. Every dossier, audio recordings of whispered insults, spreadsheets tracing embezzled funds, time-stamped surveillance clips, lay hidden in the back-office suite. Omar Delgado and Nadia Kim waited there, as ready as she was. She pressed her palm to the cool wood, then straightened, smoothing the lapel of her uniform. With a final, steadying breath, she whispered into the silent corridor. They forgot one thing. That whispered promise carried the weight of every sacrifice, every hidden meeting, every coin saved in her battered tin can. And as the string, quartet's first note rose inside the ballroom, Mia Caldwell, room cleaner, silent architect, slipped away to deliver the envelopes that would shatter the facade and reclaim her power. Mia slipped into the back office suite reserved for AV staff, the heavy door clicking shut behind her like a judge's gavel. Racks of humming servers lined the walls, their LEDs pulsing in rhythmic patterns that echoed her racing pulse. Air was cool and carried the faint tang of solder and recycled ventilation, an industrial undercurrent beneath the ballroom's opulent veneer. A row of monitors glowed atop a narrow desk. One screen held the grand ballroom frozen in blissful ignorance. Another tracked the service corridor where Vanessa's ultimatum had echoed. Mia's fingertips brushed the leather of her confidential portfolio, its cover smooth and reassuring. Under her touch, she inhaled, tasting the metallic edge of anticipation on her tongue and letting it steady her. She dialed Omar Delgado on speaker. His calm voice emerged through crackling speakers. "Morning, Mia. Everything in place?" "Proceed with the asset freeze," Mia replied, her words measured and steady, like gentle ripples over deep water. "Subpoenas will hit the Beaumont Trust and the 5 executives by 6 p.m., Omar confirmed. "Your boardroom slides are queued." She laid out color-coded binders across the desk. Board minutes, expense reports, audio logs, shell company chart, each stamped with time and date markers. Thumbing through the first binder, she traced her initials on the acquisition records, proof that MC held half the Beaumont fortune. A faint click from the server racks harmonized with her own heartbeat as she absorbed the gravity of her silent majority stake. At the whiteboard, Mia sketched the timeline in crisp black marker. Mar a.m. Ballroom presentation begins darn 05 a.m. Remote link activation darn 10 a.m. Live evidence playback 9:15 a.m. Executive exit protocol each. Bullet felt like poised dominoes, ready to fall. The scratch of marker on board was sharp in the hush, a prelude to the coming storm. She retrieved a slim, gunmetal remote from a drawer, a deceptively simple device with the power to usurp the hotel's entire AV system. It felt cool and weighty in her hand. Mia slid it into a sealed envelope marked "To Ballroom AV," then clipped it to her apron. The paper's crisp edge rasped softly against her fingertips. A soft whir rose from the servers, carrying a hint of ozone that made her skin prickle. She closed her eyes and drew in a slow, deliberate breath, tasting the tang of cleaning solution mingled with determination. The distant clink of glassware and muted laughter drifted through the walls, a careless symphony on the eve of their unraveling. Mia smoothed the lapels of her uniform and tapped the envelope at her thigh. Its reassuring weight anchored her. With every tool at her disposal, legal orders, encrypted evidence, technological control, she embodied quiet authority. Stepping into the corridor, Mia's heels clicked on the polished linoleum. The crescendo of violins swelled from the ballroom beyond. In that moment, the unseen cleaner became the architect of fate. Mia Caldwell strode forward, ready to shatter their illusion. 2 weeks before the wedding, Mia became April Wells, a bright-eyed intern hopeful for a summer position. Dressed in a crisp white blouse and pencil skirt, borrowed from a thrift boutique, she carried a polished portfolio and a stack of carefully tailored resumes. At 8:15 a.m., she breezed past the lobby greeter, handed her resume to the HR receptionist, and flashed a warm smile. She clipped on a temporary badge, April Wells, intern candidate, and settled into the waiting area. Mia's heart pounded as she pressed record on the discreet lapel mic Nadia had sewn into her collar. Nadia's whispered instructions crackled through the earpiece. Capture everything. She nodded subtly and sipped her water, pretending to read a mock business book. Moments later, Ross Whitman, the marketing director, swaggered in, thumb scrolling through his phone. He caught sight of her badge and laughed under his breath. "Look, Simone," he called out. "April's here. Probably thinks she can write copy after reading a Medium post." Simone Alvarez, the CFO, swiveled her chair toward them, lips curling. She's lucky we even glance at peasants' resumes. Wonder if her family launders money the old-fashioned way. Dion Price, the CTO, strolled by, smartphone in hand. He paused beside Ross and muttered, "Bet her biggest project was cleaning spilled coffee in a diner." Fiona Chen, head of HR, covered a smirk with a hand. "She seems nice enough. Perfect filter to make the real candidates shine." Marcus Lyle, legal counsel, leaned in, voice low. "If she mentions cronyism, I'll feign sympathy. Then I'll quietly shred her file." Each barb registered in Mia's hidden recorder, timestamps aligned with internal memos. She responded to the secretary's queries with feigned humility. "Thank you for the opportunity. I'm eager to learn," while her blood boiled at every slur. Beneath her composed exterior, she catalogued each insult. Peasants. Résumé Simone Alvarez, 8:27 a.m. Cleaning spilled coffee. Dayon Price, 8:29 a.m. Filter for real candidates. Fiona Chen, 8:31 a.m. Cronyism shred. Marcus Lyle, 8:32 a.m. After 20 minutes, she was dismissed with a patronizing pat on the shoulder by Fiona. "We'll be in touch, April." Ross winked at his colleagues as she stood. "Bet she won't last till noon." Simone rolled her eyes. "You'd be generous to give her till lunch." April Wells smiled graciously, collected her portfolio, and slipped past the glass doors. As the corridor light swallowed her silhouette, Mia switched off the recorder and exhaled. The dossier had taken shape. 5 executives, recorded in their own cruelty. Nadia's text blinked on her phone. "Great work. Next step ready?" Mia tapped back, steady and sure. "Ready." 2 days before the wedding, Mia received an elegant envelope sealed with the hotel's emblem, an invitation to a linen and decor supplier tasting in the executive lounge. Under her April Wells alias, she accepted the invite with a polite RSVP, an unremarkable gesture that would grant her the perfect vantage point. On the morning of the tasting, Mia arrived just past 10, carrying a silver briefcase filled with sample swatches and invoices. The executive suite's polished mahogany doors swung open to reveal Dayon Price, Fiona Chen, and Ross Whitman seated around a glass-topped table. Crystal stemware held tasting spoons of scented linen sprays. Soft sunlight streamed through floor to ceiling, windows, illuminating rows of crisp duvet samples. Mia offered a warm smile as she set up her presentation. "Good morning. Thank you for inviting me," she said, bowing her head slightly. Her lapel mic nestled beneath the lapel captured every word and whisper that followed. Ross tapped his fingers on the table. "So, April," he drawled, "tell us how a small-town girl with a mop-water resume managed to land a tasting with us." His grin was smug, condescending. Fiona covered a discreet giggle with her hand. "Yes, April. Did they finally let you out of your parents' laundry shop?" Her voice dripped with false sympathy. Dayon leaned back, swirling his spoon. "Honestly, I was expecting someone with real industry experience, not—" He sniffed the linen spray theatrically. "Peasant background." Simone Alvarez entered, phone in hand, and tossed Mia a cursory glance. "I don't know why they wasted our time. Linen tastes are trivial. We should be evaluating financials, not fabric fluff." Marcus Lyle, tucked into the corner, murmured, "Ignore them, but watch. Her presentation will be too dull to remember by afternoon." Mia nodded, face serene. She distributed sample cards and began her pitch. "These Egyptian cotton weaves are sourced through our ethically audited mill in Portugal." As she spoke, Fiona whispered to Dayon, "I hope she doesn't start reciting Wikipedia." Ross leaned toward Simone. "We could just ask housekeeping to pick linens. Saves a fortune." Simone smirked. "Might improve the decor and the staff morale." Each barb, each cruel aside, clocked in on Mia's recorder. Mopwater resume. Ross Whitman, 10:12 a.m. Parents' laundry shop. Fiona Chen, 10:13 a.m. Peasant background. Dayon Price, 10:14 a.m. Fabric fluff. Simone Alvarez, 10:15 a.m. Reciting Wikipedia. Fiona Chen, 10:16 a.m. Ask housekeeping. Ross Whitman, 10:18 a.m. Mia maintained her professional composure, guiding them through thread counts and moisture-wicking tests. As the meeting concluded, with polite nods and dismissive "we'll-be-in-touch" promises, she collected her samples and departed without a trace of emotion. In the corridor, she paused and stopped the recording. Her screen filled with time-stamped insults, mocking her work and her background, each a weapon in her arsenal. The dossier was growing, unfolding exactly as she and Nadia had planned. Mia slipped away, determination etched on her face, each recorded sneer bringing her closer to the moment they would finally learn she was the true proprietor of their... As the sky turned a deep cerulean and lanterns glowed along the terrace, Mia moved through the cocktail hour like a ghost among the well-heeled guests. Under cabana umbrellas draped in gauzy white fabric, she carried a slender leather pouch filled with sealed envelopes. Each bore a single name in elegant script: Mr. Caldwell, Mrs. Beaumont, board member, Dr. Sterling, investor, Lydia Park. Inside, they would find the proof of every cruel word and shady transaction. Her first stop was the long mirrored bar where Mr. Caldwell, a veteran investor, sampled hors d'oeuvres. Mia slipped his envelope onto his tray beside a smoked salmon, canapé. He picked it up absently, turned it over in his hand, and peeled open the flap. Inside, the transcript of Ross Whitman's sneer, "Mop water resume," sat next to a QR code that, when scanned, played Fiona Chen's mocking laughter. Caldwell's brow furrowed. He glanced around, voice catching. "Excuse me, can I borrow your phone?" Mia drifted toward the in-laws' table, where Mrs. Beaumont admired the sunset. She handed her envelope with a smile so cool it felt like moonlight. Moments later, Mrs. Beaumont broke the seal and gasped as she extracted a bank statement showing Simone Alvarez diverting linen contract funds into her personal account. Beyond that was a link to Dayon Price's midnight data leaks. Her hand trembled over a champagne flute. This is impossible. By the reflecting pool, Dr. Sterling accepted his envelope from an assistant. He withdrew a stack of pages, detailed accounting charts mapping how the Beaumont Trust's profits were siphoned through shell companies Mia secretly owned. Underneath, the voice clip of Marcus Lyle admitting, "Destroy those memos before they ruin us," played softly on his phone speaker. Sterling's face went pale. He turned to a colleague. "We need to verify this immediately." At each cabana, the ritual repeated. Envelopes delivered, seals broken, stunned reactions. Murmurs swelled into urgent whispers. "Is this real?" "They've been skimming for years." "My God, she owns half the shares." Security staff exchanged uneasy glances as guests huddled over their revelations, phones held tight. The corks of water glasses trembled in trembling hands. Mia observed from the shadows, satisfaction rising like a tide. Every insult, every fraudulent transaction, every condescending joke was laid bare. The guests, once blind to her presence, now stared at her name on the evidence packets. Mia Hayward, anonymous trustee of the Beaumont fortune, the architect of their reckoning. She let the final envelope rest on the head table for Lucas Beaumont himself, his name scrawled in the same elegant hand. Then she slipped away, leaving chaos to bloom under the cabana lights and her evidence to ignite the night. The crystal chandeliers dimmed, and a hush fell over the grand ballroom as Mia Hayward emerged from the shadows. The string quartet stilled their bows. Conversations died on lips. For a moment, the only sound was the gentle clink of champagne, glasses, and the distant crash of waves against the hotel's cliffside foundation. Mia paused at the head of the center aisle, her teal dress catching the last glow of the wall sconces. In her hand, she held a simple remote. With a steady breath, she pressed the button. Instantly, the projection screen above the raised dais sprang to life. Instead of wedding photos, it displayed Novagen Holdings' board meeting minutes, handwritten, annotations revealing shell company acquisitions in Mia's name. One by one, slides transitioned. Interlocking flowcharts mapping how Beaumont trust funds had been rerouted through phantom corporations. Secret expense reports showing Lucas Beaumont's monthly allowance, disguised as vendor fees, and annotated bank ledgers illustrating Simone Alvarez's offshore transfers. Gasps rippled through the assembled guests. Ross Whitman, the handsome marketing executive, flung his champagne flute against a marble column. Golden liquid cascaded down its fluted surface like molten metal. "What is this?" he snarled, eyes darting to the screen. Simone Alvarez's phone buzzed violently in her trembling hand. She glanced at the display. SEC audit notification. Internal freeze order. Board emergency session. She dropped the device, mouth agape, her perfect lipstick now smeared like a wounded bird's wings. Dion Price lunged for the wall-mounted touchscreen, attempting to override the presentation. His fingers tapped frantically, but each attempt was met with a stern red alert. Access denied. He staggered back, face crestfallen. In the front row, Fiona Chen, head of HR, covered her face with both hands. Her shoulders shook as suppressed tears carved paths through her carefully applied makeup. Weeping softly, she sank to the plush carpet at Mia's feet. Marcus Lyle, legal counsel, dove under a nearby bench, reaching for a briefcase that once held shredded memos. Now the protective papers lay exposed on the screen. Voice clips of his own admission, "Destroy those documents or this empire falls," replaying in sharp clarity through hidden speakers. Marcus scrambled, crumpling beneath the weight of his own deeds. Mia's voice rang out, calm yet commanding, slicing through the stunned silence. "Ladies and gentlemen, you've built your fortunes on deception, your reputations on lies. Tonight, I present you with incontrovertible evidence." She gestured toward the screen, where highlighted passages of board minutes glowed like calligraphic daggers. Every fraudulent transfer, every backdoor deal, every contemptuous reference to those you deemed beneath you. She let the weight of her words hang between the rows of white linen tables. A low murmur rose as guests clustered around their seats, scanning their own envelopes, comparing QR codes to the screen. Investors exchanged worried glances. In-laws whispered accusations. The bride and groom, frozen at the edge of the dance floor, stared at Mia with a mixture of shock and desperation. From the side entrance, the hotel's board of directors, stern-faced and impeccably dressed, entered in single file. Their leader, Chairman John Ellsworth, ascended the dais behind Mia. The board members remained silent, their stony expressions reflecting the gravity of the moment. Ellsworth folded his hands, his weathered gaze sweeping the room. Mia stepped aside, allowing the chairman to address the stunned crowd. "This gathering was meant to celebrate an alliance," he intoned, voice resonant. "Instead, we witness the exposure of a conspiracy that threatens our integrity. Thanks to Ms. Hayward's diligence, we now have clarity." He paused, and every eye in the ballroom found him. The boardroom minutes flashed once more. Resolved. Appoint Mia Hayward as interim director of Beaumont Trust and Novagen Holdings. Freeze all Beaumont family accounts pending full audit. A ripple of acknowledgement swept through the board. Ellsworth's next words carried the weight of a gavel. By unanimous decision, Mia Hayward will assume control effective immediately to restore trust and transparency. Let us begin. Mia allowed herself a small, triumphant smile as soft applause began, tentative at first, then growing into a steady, resolute ovation. The chandeliers brightened, bathing the ballroom in pure light. Where malicious laughter and whispered conspiracies once thrived, only the promise of justice now remained. They had cast her aside as a humble cleaner. Tonight, she stood at the helm of their empire, and they had forgotten one thing. She held all the keys. The crystal chandeliers dimmed, and a hush fell over the grand ballroom as Mia Hayward emerged from the shadows. The string quartet stilled their bows. Conversations died on lips. For a moment, the only sound was the gentle clink of champagne, glasses, and the distant crash of waves against the hotel's cliffside foundation. Mia paused at the head of the center aisle, her teal dress catching the last glow of the wall sconces. In her hand, she held a simple remote. With a steady breath, she pressed the button. Instantly, the projection screen above the raised dais sprang to life. Instead of wedding photos, it displayed Novagen Holdings' board meeting minutes, handwritten, annotations revealing shell company acquisitions in Mia's name. One by one, slides transitioned. Interlocking flowcharts mapping how Beaumont trust funds had been rerouted through phantom corporations. Secret expense reports showing Lucas Beaumont's monthly allowance, disguised as vendor fees, and annotated bank ledgers illustrating Simone Alvarez's offshore transfers. Gasps rippled through the assembled guests. Ross Whitman, the handsome marketing executive, flung his champagne flute against a marble column. Golden liquid cascaded down its fluted surface like molten metal. "What is this?" he snarled, eyes darting to the screen. Simone Alvarez's phone buzzed violently in her trembling hand. She glanced at the display. SEC audit notification. Internal freeze order. Board emergency session. She dropped the device, mouth agape, her perfect lipstick now smeared like a wounded bird's wings. Dion Price lunged for the wall-mounted touchscreen, attempting to override the presentation. His fingers tapped frantically, but each attempt was met with a stern red alert. Access denied. He staggered back, face crestfallen. In the front row, Fiona Chen, head of HR, covered her face with both hands. Her shoulders shook as suppressed tears carved paths through her carefully applied makeup. Weeping softly, she sank to the plush carpet at Mia's feet. Marcus Lyle, legal counsel, dove under a nearby bench, reaching for a briefcase that once held shredded memos. Now the protective papers lay exposed on the screen. Voice clips of his own admission, "Destroy those documents or this empire falls," replaying in sharp clarity through hidden speakers. Marcus scrambled, crumpling beneath the weight of his own deeds. Mia's voice rang out, calm yet commanding, slicing through the stunned silence. "Ladies and gentlemen, you've built your fortunes on deception, your reputations on lies. Tonight, I present you with incontrovertible evidence." She gestured toward the screen, where highlighted passages of board minutes glowed like calligraphic daggers. Every fraudulent transfer, every backdoor deal, every contemptuous reference to those you deemed beneath you. She let the weight of her words hang between the rows of white linen tables. A low murmur rose as guests clustered around their seats, scanning their own envelopes, comparing QR codes to the screen. Investors exchanged worried glances. In-laws whispered accusations. The bride and groom, frozen at the edge of the dance floor, stared at Mia with a mixture of shock and desperation. From the side entrance, the hotel's board of directors, stern-faced and impeccably dressed, entered in single file. Their leader, Chairman John Ellsworth, ascended the dais behind Mia. The board members remained silent, their stony expressions reflecting the gravity of the moment. Ellsworth folded his hands, his weathered gaze sweeping the room. Mia stepped aside, allowing the chairman to address the stunned crowd. This gathering was meant to celebrate an alliance, he intoned, voice resonant. Instead, we witness the exposure of a conspiracy that threatens our integrity. Thanks to Ms. Hayward's diligence, we now have clarity. He paused, and every eye in the ballroom found him. The boardroom minutes flashed once more. Resolved, appoint Mia Hayward as interim director of Beaumont Trust and Novagen Holdings. Freeze all Beaumont family accounts pending full audit. A ripple of acknowledgement swept through the board. Ellsworth's next words carried the weight of a gavel. By unanimous decision, Mia Hayward will assume control effective immediately to restore trust and transparency. Let us begin. Mia allowed herself a small, triumphant smile as soft applause began, tentative at first, then growing into a steady, resolute ovation. The chandeliers brightened, bathing the ballroom in pure light. Where malicious laughter and whispered conspiracies once thrived, only the promise of justice now remained. They had cast her aside as a humble cleaner. Tonight, she stood at the helm of their empire, and they had forgotten one thing. She held all the keys. Days later, news outlets exploded with headlines proclaiming Silent Founder unmasked and beachside ballroom coup shocks luxury hotel world. Financial Times ran a banner story on the front page, Beaumont Empire under federal scrutiny. The Securities and Exchange Commission issued subpoenas to Lucas Beaumont and his inner circle. Lawsuits piled up. Investors claimed fraud, in-laws filed breach of fiduciary complaints, and the Department of Justice opened an inquiry into shell company transactions. Simone Alvarez's bank accounts were frozen. Her consulting firm dissolved overnight. Ross Whitman faced civil suits for marketing misrepresentation, and Fiona Chen's HR license was suspended pending ethics review. Marcus Lyle's law practice was flagged for professional misconduct, with partners distancing themselves immediately. Within the company, the board moved swiftly. A special committee conducted a full audit. Nadia Wells, Mia's longtime legal ally, was appointed Chief Compliance Officer. Under her guidance, Novagen Holdings instituted transparent financial controls, whistleblower hotlines, and an employee-staff partnership program. The old guard was purged. Mid-level managers who'd been silenced under Fiona's watch were promoted. Morale rebounded as staff discovered their voices mattered. Meanwhile, Mia declined the executive suite's tempting offer to join the revamped board. Instead, she walked away with her dignity and her secret nest egg intact. She bought a charming, weather-worn seaside cottage just down the coast, transforming it into a cozy bed and breakfast called Harbor Haven. Each morning, she greeted guests by name, served homemade scones in the sunlit parlor, and listened to their stories of escape and renewal. Her granddaughter Lily, whose future Mia had always safeguarded, enrolled at the state university with full tuition secured. On move-in day, Mia stood in the campus quad, her heart swelling as Lily bounded ahead with boxes and laughter. She had built more than an empire. She'd built security, dignity, and a legacy of integrity. On quiet evenings, Mia walked the sand, dunes behind Harbor Haven, the Atlantic breeze carrying secrets of a world she once cleaned, but now quietly transformed. She felt no need for fanfare. Justice had been served not with violence, but with evidence, patience, and unwavering resolve. While the Beaumonts grappled with investigations and ruined reputations, Mia found peace in simple routines, watering her garden, brewing fresh coffee for early guests, and reading by lantern light. In the soft amber glow of sunset, she smiled at the horizon. The tides reshaped the shore, carving new paths, just as she had reshaped her destiny. And in that moment, she knew. True power lay not in titles or wealth, but in the quiet certainty that one's integrity would always. Underestimating someone leads to your own downfall. Mia's story proves that patience, preparation, and quiet perseverance can topple even the most gilded towers. She began as a humble cleaner, dismissed as inconsequential, yet she built an anonymous empire piece by piece, saving every dollar, collecting every secret, waiting for the perfect moment to act. When Lucas Beaumont and his cronies sneered at her lowly station, they never imagined the strength hidden behind her gentle smile. Their arrogance became their prison, undone by the very evidence they thought they buried. Mia's victory wasn't born of violence or spectacle, but of unwavering integrity and strategic resolve. She showed us that true power doesn't roar. It whispers, calculates, and strikes when the moment is right. In the aftermath, she didn't seek revenge for its own sake. She reclaimed her dignity, secured her granddaughter's future, and redefined success on her own terms. The Beaumont legacy crumbled under the weight of its own deception, while Mia, once unseen, rose to build something lasting, honest, and true. If you've ever been overlooked, underestimated, or told you didn't belong, remember Mia's lesson. Your value cannot be defined by anyone else's narrow view. Use that quiet strength to chart your own course, gather your own evidence of worth, and wait for your moment to shine. If this tale of hidden might and poetic justice moved you, please hit like and subscribe. Ring the bell so you never miss another story of unexpected triumph. Share this video with someone who needs a reminder that the underdog can rewrite the rules. Now it's your turn. What moment in Mia's journey surprised you most? Was it the frozen ballroom? The decisive boardroom reveal? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear your favorite twist. Until next time, stay patient, stay prepared, and never let anyone define your worth.